Hey everyone, I'm Chelle Shapiro. I am the founder of Shell Station and I help wellness coaches stand out on LinkedIn so that they can showcase their unique value and attract more aligned clients and opportunities. I want to thank Back to Basics for inviting me over. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and keep on listening. Remember, everything in life is going back to basics.
Hey, folks, thank you again for coming on to Back to Basics. And we're almost over. After this episode, we're going to have two more episodes and we're done with season 3. You know, it's really grateful and loving that everyone, whoever's listening and watching here, is supporting me. And I'm very grateful for that. So today's episode, we're going to have a great time because honestly, I'm already having a great time before I start recording this. The episode is all about marketing. It's all about burnouts. It's all about, well, both hand in hand, right? And we're going to get into that. But there's one thing that I do want to go and talk to our guests is LinkedIn or social media the only way to get away from burnout? And that's the main question. So let's stop talking to me and why don't we talk to our guest today, Shelley. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. And honestly, the last name, I really screwed up on the intro. So how about we talk to her and get to know her better to find out what her first and your last name is. And then on top of that, we'll just go from there. So hello, how are you? And thank you for coming to Back to Basics.
Thank you for having me. Any way that you say my name is just I'm not mad at it. How could I be? Because part of my branding, right? Before I even introduce myself, part of my branding is like a lighthouse. It's a shell. It's like the ocean. And I've grown up. My full name is Michelle, and I've since dropped that. But like I've been called Shelly. I
Mm,
have very close friends who call me that all the time, and I have people who just thought that was my name my whole life.
oh,
And even one recently out on the West Coast, he was like, "Yeah, Shelly, like come over here. I love what you're doing." And another good friend of mine was standing right there, and she was like, "Who is Shelly?" And he was like, "Is that not your name? I'm so sorry." And I was like, "I've never corrected you, and there's a reason for that. Like if I feel good with you calling me a certain thing, I'm just not going to correct you because it feels good. It feels
aw-
right."
awesome,
So,
Coach. Well, I'm going to call you Shelley from now on. And
absolutely.
so thank you again for coming on Back to Basics. I'm very, very honored that you're here. But before we talk about the Shelley business and the marketing business and the LinkedIn business, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
Well, sometimes we make things more difficult than they need to be. And back to basics is about simplifying and returning to the fundamentals of like all the things that we put in our way, like all the obstacles that can clutter our minds and our lifestyles,
Hmm.
and stripping those away and getting down to the nitty gritty so that we can make more progress
Hmm.
and make faster progress and more intentional progress. So it's really about getting back to basics and unlearning, if you will.
Yeah, thank you again for being here, and thank you again for answering that question. Definitely honored. You and I chatted on our pre-call, and we found out that we're kind of neighbors on the East Coast, but you travel between West and East, so we're gonna have a virally between the East and the West today on this call. How about that? But before we get into that, let me tell you something here. On the intro, I was mentioning about the sentence and the article that I was reading. And the title of the article is called Work Burnout Will Kill Your Business Faster Than Any Bad Marketing Plan. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, if your mindset, if your mental state, if your physical health is not right, you're never going to be successful in your marketing, in your sales, in your business period. So burnout is really serious. Like you need to take those symptoms and those factors seriously and be mindful of that so that you can do better and be better.
Hmm. So, so is it okay to take a step back and it's okay to say back to basics? Or should
Absolutely.
we, or do we start reanalyzing ourselves as to where the hell did we go wrong and why am I in a burnout state? Because we should not be in a burnout state, right?
Ideally, you don't want to be in a burnout state like ever, but it happens, right? I think in some regard, we've each experienced that at some point in our lives, however little or big it's been. And I don't think I think if we get stuck ruminating about where did I go wrong or why is this happening to me, then we're going to stay stuck and we're going to be in that burnout for an extended period of time that we don't need to be. But if we can strip it away and get back to basics and start with where you're at, start with where we are now.
Hmm.
How do you move forward? What can we do now? What simple steps can we take forward so that we can break the cycle
Hmm.
and become healthier and more mindful with ourselves and where we want to go?
Yeah, thank you. So let me ask you this: during the entrepreneur life or business life or corporate life or whatever you want to call it, it does not really matter, right? But when we get to the burnout state and the only answer that it comes to you is I need to stop what I'm doing, re-energize myself, and maybe take a break for a year and then come back. But now the problem is that you're disconnected from the life and the business world, and now you're just going to play catch up game. Is that okay to do that in the business world?
Is it a catch up game though? Or are you coming back with a rejuvenated, renewed, restored sense of self and you can dive in head first with more energy and vitality?
Hmm.
I don't think it's a matter of falling behind or not being caught up or anything. I think it's necessary to slow down and take that crucial step back because otherwise you're just doomed to repeat the same cycle again.
Hmm.
You're coming at it, you need to come at it from a new approach. What was working for you before, what isn't working now? It's not going to.
But this is the business world, right? I mean, from the business and let's say hypothetically, even the technology world. I mean, as soon as you buy something from a technology world or even a car for that matter, right, it
Yeah.
goes obsolete, right? So, same thing with marketing. The new design comes in today and it's obsolete in a couple of months. So, me shutting off for at least a year with that example, it's going to hurt me, isn't it?
I think in the short term, it's going to hurt you only because you might have to play a little bit of catch up when you get back in there.
Hmm.
And you're right. Technology changes so quickly. Social media changes so quickly. You could go off LinkedIn for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever the time frame is, and come back and the algorithm is different. LinkedIn's added 10 new features. They've taken away this, they've added that. Their terms of service have changed. And now you've got to play catch up and figure out, all right, well, where do I start? What do I dive in? What's going to work for me now?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I do think in the short term, you might feel like you're behind, but I don't think it's that big of a leap to catch up. Like, yes, technology can go leaps and bounds in a very short amount of time, but if you're showing up where you want to be in the field, in the business, on the platform where it's important for you, you're going to figure it out pretty quickly because you're going to look to people who are already doing it and
Hmm.
learn from them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for explaining that because there's a lot of people who are fortunate, I mean, unfortunate, I should say, that they're getting laid off, right? And this is just a trend nowadays. So I want people to understand that when they go into social medias like, let's say, LinkedIn or even monster.com or whatever the resumes are out there, right? Um, they do get burnt out because they get really boggled down with confidence and self-esteem, really. So how do we tell them to that you need to show up? And there's always, I know it's a saying that there's another door out there, but is it really another door out there, or eventually we'll get there? What do you think?
I think the door always exists. I think there's many doors, many paths that are possible and there for us. But I think we need to go intentionally looking for them. Um, I've been talking a lot about, and this is mindful right now. And we see more of the things that we want to see. The
Mm.
law of attraction, um, and being intentional to put ourselves in spaces where we want to be more, do more, see more. And
Mm,
so I think if you're looking for a specific door, you need to put yourself in front of the door. And
mm,
you may not even know that that door exists, but it's there if you are open to looking for it and seeing it.
mm,
So that goes across any platform. That's not
mm.
just social media. That's not just Monster or Indeed or, you know, looking for a job. It's where do you want to be? Who do you want to surround yourself with? And where can you find more of those things intentionally
Mm.
and put yourself in those spaces?
Yeah, thank you again. And we're gonna talk about the favorite topic for you so just in a minute. But let me ask you this: when you're trying to find a job, it's not really. Uh, is it safe to say that maybe you should not be looking for it, and it should be looking for you? Eventually, it'll come back to you because the harder that you look, the harder it's tough to just get one. Does that make sense?
I've heard so many stories of people who send out hundreds and hundreds of resumes, and they do the work, and it to the point where it feels like another job, just
Mm.
job searching and putting
Right,
themselves out there.
right.
And I think if you're working that hard to find what you think you want, then that's going to lead to burnout. One, let's just be honest about that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're overworking. You're working harder, not smarter. And when I say that, there you could just probably cut back on how much effort and time and energy you're putting into it and still get the same results or better
Mm,
just by tweaking some simple things that might not be working for you in that moment with all that extra added effort and
mm,
stress. So, to your point of like when you go looking for something, sometimes you just don't find it because you're searching so hard for it. I think it's a matter of like looking in the right places and being open to tweaking what you're doing to get a better result and desired outcome. And I also think that like there's power in networking. There's
mm,
power in like connecting with people who are doing the things that you want to be doing.
mm,
And you never know who else they might be connected to. There's also power in reciprocity. So like the more you put yourself out there and insert yourself and share and add your value and expertise, the
mm.
more that's going to come back to you because somewhere someone is going to see it and be like, I need you.
That's right.
I need what you're doing.
Mm.
But if you don't ever put yourself out there, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. Thank you again for explaining that because I think we're right into that topic of we're getting into. Um, I want people to understand that today we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a social media network where people they look for jobs, right? But honestly, there's beyond that, and people they don't understand that LinkedIn is a platform which I've learned over the years that it's a platform to connect with people. Let's say if I never connected with Shelly, or I should say Michelle, on a platform, but we will connect in a different level, right? Maybe she's in a industry that actually I'm related to, or someone that she knows that I know that's kind of related to, right? And how would you know that? By just chit chatting with people, right? But if you don't want to chit chat with people, that's what LinkedIn is all about. So that's the introduction of the LinkedIn, and there's much, much more on that, right? And we're really the tips of it. So, what are your thoughts on the introduction of the LinkedIn that I've given so far?
Sure. I mean, it's absolutely social media, but it's different than other social media platforms in that it's business networking. Yes, you can sell on Facebook, you can coach on Facebook, you can sell on TikTok and Instagram, and you can have live streams and live events and audio events on Twitter, in Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse and any other social media platform out there. But LinkedIn is different in that everyone here on LinkedIn is here for the purpose of expanding their business. Plain and simple. Yes, you might have different goals for the platform. Maybe you want to sell your services. Maybe you want to build a community. Maybe you want more speaking opportunities. Maybe you want more clients. Maybe you want to pitch your mastermind. Everybody's got different goals, but it's all related to how we want to show up and be known in business.
Hmm. Yeah,
And no other platform can say that.
yeah. Thank you again for that. And but before we get to the detailed of who you are and why LinkedIn is so important in your life, but before you got into that whole business, was LinkedIn always a resume place for you? You can be honest; it's okay because I think that I don't know if
No.
that's the right answer. So, what was your thought process when LinkedIn first came in your mind?
I think I was not too long out of college when I first joined LinkedIn. Um, and maybe that was like 2008, 2009. I graduated a few years earlier than that. And so I was on LinkedIn pretty early when it came out. But just like when Facebook first got started or other social media platforms, I was on it and I wasn't using it to its full potential.
Hmm.
I would hit the connect button, not send a note. I would add in all my email contacts and like try to get them into my network over here because might as well have them in another platform with me too, right?
Sure.
I was connect, but then I didn't do anything with them. I wasn't sharing any content at the time. I wasn't intentionally like looking to build relationships with people in certain companies. I wasn't even using it for a job search. It was just like, all right, here's what I think I'm supposed to do with this, but I don't really know because nobody ever showed me.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until maybe 2018, 2019,
Hmm.
that I had I had dabbled with it a few in between here and there in like over time as I was like wanting to leave my job or like thinking about things. But it wasn't until like 2018, 2019, I had a career coach at the time, and she showed me all the ins and outs of how to use the platform, how to connect better, how to be more intentional with my connections, how to be more thoughtful about where I wanted to be and who I wanted to surround myself with. Um, and at the same time, I'm an introvert by nature. And this is all still pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. I Because I was working with her to hopefully find a new job. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I was dabbling and learning how to use LinkedIn. At the same time, I was also challenging myself to go to networking events in person
Hmm.
and elevator pitch, get to know people, practice introducing myself, having a conversation, taking the pressure off, getting more comfortable, things like that. And the more I talked to people, the more I realized nobody's using LinkedIn the way that it's supposed to be used. Nobody is taught how to do these things. It wasn't just me
Hmm.
years before, just like sending random connection messages or following people and then not doing anything with it. People were actively not using the platform.
Hmm.
And I thought, there's something here because as I'm learning how to use it better, like it just blows my mind that other people aren't.
Hmm.
And then 2019, I finally had enough with my burnout. I knew I needed better. I left the company that I was at. Still didn't know what I wanted to be doing and still going to in-person networking events, and I started offering people LinkedIn reviews just because I was curious to see if people would gravitate toward it or be interested, and people really resonated with them. And
Hmm.
so that kind of was the beginning of me helping people with their LinkedIn profiles. By way of me learning how to use it better and do things better, I was like, other people need to know this. And so the rest has kind of just fallen into place since then.
Nice, very nice. Thank you so much for explaining that because I think people should understand that because there's a lot of people, including myself, was on the same boat as you were. Trying to connect, send a resume out, whatever I can. Maybe I put here and there profiles, and didn't really care too much about it, honestly speaking. But in today's world, it's very different for me. So whoever's listening or watching right now, I have my LinkedIn profile on the bottom there. So if you want, you can follow me there. But what are your thoughts on tweaking the profiles? I mean, you have seen my profile. So what's your thought on on my profile. Let's put it that way.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Um, you do a very good job of telling people who you are, what you do, and where the spaces that you want to be in.
Hmm.
I think you do a really great job of that. And there's nobody that could come to your profile and not know that you host a podcast, that you are a speaker, that you like you're commanding attention. People are just drawn in.
Hmm.
Um, I immediately like we connected right away pretty soon after Lachelle introduced us, and I wanted to know more. And
Hmm.
of course, so I looked through your profile and I found a bunch of different ways that we could connect on the same level, and you do that really well.
Hmm.
Um, one thing that if I'm going to give you any feedback, if you're open to it,
Sure.
um, is I'd love for you to zoom in on your profile picture a little bit more.
Hmm.
I don't have it up on the screen right now to like tell you exactly what I remember about it. But if I'm recalling it correctly, I want to see you fill up the circle more. I remember it seeming like a little bit zoomed out compared to some of the other pictures that you have on other platforms.
Hmm.
And I wanted to like get a better sense of who you were, even like more up close.
Oh,
But everything else to me, like it captured your essence. Like when we got on that our first call, you were who I thought you were going to be. It wasn't a farce. It wasn't. There was nothing like that led me in a different direction. It was very clear to me, and I think a lot of people missed the mark on that. So yeah, you do that. You do that really well.
thank you. Thank you so much for that. And the reason why I didn't do that is because I didn't have skincare on my profile picture. So no, I'm kidding. I think there had to be a reason why. So I'll tell you offline on that. But thank you again for explaining that. There's a reason why I put myself on the spot, because I want people to be kind of transparent as to what my profile is all about. If it is really sucks or really great or whatever it is, because I feel that people, they need feedbacks. Because as you explained about my profile, is I think I'm telling a story as to who the hell am I, what am I all about, am I really a farce or am I a real person, you know, am I supposed to be a host or am I a crappy host, right? I mean, it's a story that you're telling about your business, about your personality for that matter. So thank you again for explaining all the good stuff and maybe the bad stuff about my profile picture. But
It wasn't even bad. That's a subtle tweak. It could just be a personal preference. And if I had it in front of me right now, I could go into a little bit more detail. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
okay,
There's just always ways that beyond your profile for anybody, there even for myself, there's always ways to improve and do things even better for ourselves.
awesome, awesome. So we're gonna go and play the rapid fire round for season 3, and that's a new segment that we started. So I'm gonna go and tell you that. But before, we're gonna go and play that game. But then we're gonna also talk about the advantages for LinkedIn, and we're gonna get to the features right after that game, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Awesome. So let's go and play the game of rapid fire round. The first one is going to be Michelle versus Shelley. Which one would you prefer?
Uh Depends who's asking. But if you're putting me on the spot right now, and I know you are, I'm gonna go with the third option, Shell.
Oh, okay. Um, we're going to get into that as to why. So we're going to talk about that. Uh, Long term versus short term,
Long term.
because
Well, it's easy to look at the tiny details of things. That's the short term. It's easy to see what's right in front of you, but how those details come together to form the bigger picture, that's the long term goals, the long term thinking that I want everybody to have.
awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Showing up.
Engagement,
Okay,
lots and lots of engagement,
okay. Connections.
building relationships,
Adaptation.
open mindedness,
Okay,
flexibility.
okay. Marketing.
Storytelling,
Voice.
Bold. Bold speaking.
Okay. Burnout.
Recovery.
Okay. Experience.
Unique.
Okay. Boost profile.
Absolutely necessary.
Okay. Articles.
LinkedIn newsletters.
Okay. And the last one is going to be, well, last two, I should say. Shelly is.
Here to support you on your LinkedIn dreams.
Okay.
That sounds so cheesy, but that's the first
Do you want to try it again?
thing.
Okay. And the last one, and the last one is going to be back to basics.
Uncomplicate your life.
Cool. Thank you again for playing the rapid fire round. And I
Yeah.
think the last one, I think I'm going to ask you one more time. Shelly is.
Here to stay.
So thank you again
I'm
for
gonna
that.
get cheesy with it and cheesier, cheesier, cheesier.
I know you are. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let me ask you this, right? And there's some of the words that I've mentioned here are features of LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So, which is I'm not going to put you on the spot. Well, I am.
Yeah, you
Which
are. It's
which
okay.
which feature do you think that is the best for you, that it works for you?
There's okay. I'm gonna give you my top three because I can't limit it to just one. I think they're
Sure.
each one of them is good for different reasons.
That's right. That's right.
The first one that works really well for me is LinkedIn Live. I was not an early adopter of this. I didn't have access to it because LinkedIn rolls out different features to different people at different times. And I was really upset until I got it. And now it is a consistent way for me to show up, engage, and have real conversations for change with people who want to have more of these conversations. And I do it consistently weekly. So it's really been a game changer for me. The second thing that I think really works well for me and that everybody should take advantage of is LinkedIn features. You should have this turned on your profile to be able to highlight at least one to two, if not three, uh, things that you do really well. And you can all like, there's so many different ways to do it. Like, you can add links, you can add mentions if you're like if somebody wrote an article about you or you received an award or you've got a certificate or a certification to your name that you want to show off, if you've been on interviews, podcasts, if you've written any articles, like you name it, if you're proud of it. And I know sometimes like the humble brag is easier said than done, but like show off your amazingness. People need to see this and they need to see it first and foremost towards the top of of your profile.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can add all those things till the cows come home a million times in your profile. They're going to be towards the bottom and people may not scroll that far.
Mm.
So, I really encourage people to show it off towards the top. And the third thing is the audio clip. It's
Mm.
very underutilized. A lot of people don't even know it's there. And it was originally intended so that people could pronounce their name correctly, so that people would not mispronounce it. But it's your opportunity to add in a pitch, a call to action, and get people really excited about wanting to speak to you and get to know more about you. So don't sleep on that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And there's most of the features that I use except the audio clip. Could you imagine that? So there's so much, and there's so many features out there when it comes to LinkedIn, and I think I've tapped most of them, and I think you have seen most of the features that I've used, and hopefully they're all good ones. But there's one that I feel that it should be highlighted, and it's never highlighted enough. If you are selling your business, and if you are the business, or if you're a podcaster like me, I tell all my guests to go and write a testimonial review or a recommendation, for that matter, because I think people, they come into my circle and they don't know what to expect. So I feel feedback and reviews is one thing that people should do on their profile. Let's say, for example, I know everything about Michelle and Shelley, and what she does, right? And what she's doing between the East Coast and the West Coast, or what she's doing in her business, what she's doing having coffee or not coffee, right? I mean, that's her personality. And I think I want to put that in your testimonial. That's what I'm talking about, right? Do you
Yeah.
agree with that or disagree with that?
I love recommendations for a lot of those reasons. I think for the average person on LinkedIn, it's an afterthought, because it's so far down on your profile. Unless you have it turned on that you're a service provider, and then you can ask for client reviews, and that shows up towards the top of your profile. But that's a completely different area. Recommendations show up towards the bottom. They look like testimonials, but like you can really build up your street cred, and validate the good things that you're doing just by people being able to say, "Hey, we saw you at this and this event, and we saw you in action. You were really personable. We loved that you did X, Y, and Z." Whatever you want them to say,
Hmm.
whether you need to prompt them. If somebody is like, "I don't know what to say. What do you want me to talk about?" If you need to prompt them, fine. Or they just naturally do it. It doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to get some really great feedback from people who have seen you do the thing that you want people to know that you are capable of doing. So, yeah, I think a lot of people sleep on it, and I think it's a really great way to add validation. And if you want to show them off in other places in your profile, a great place to put it would be to sprinkle one or two, maybe not the whole thing if it's a really long recommendation, but add one or two to your about section and say, "Here's what people are saying about me or about working with me."
Hmm.
And then people can see it sooner, earlier on.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to be a devil advocate because it seems like there are people out there and they will say, "How is that different than any other places when we put reviews on, the Google reviews or Facebook reviews or for any other companies out there? How is that different than LinkedIn reviews?"
You're right, it is on the spot, and I'm not taking my time because I don't have an answer. I'm taking my time
No.
because it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's different than getting testimonials and reviews on other platforms, or even if you like let's take away other social media and compare it to putting reviews on your website
Hmm.
or on Yelp. People go to Yelp to leave a positive, a negative review, feedback, or even a Google review. Um, Usually like after the fact, like talking about the good service, or the bad service that they received, how they'll definitely go back, they highly recommend. But like that doesn't leave any room for somebody to engage back with it. Yes, the owner or the service provider can respond and thank them, but it's not a real time engagement.
Hmm.
The same thing with your website, although you can be a little bit more pointed and intentional with the ones that you have visible there. You get to pick and choose in that case which ones you want to show off on your website. And you also get to pick and choose which ones you want to show off and have visible on your LinkedIn profile.
Hmm.
Um, but on LinkedIn, I think it allows room for a dialogue because again, we're all there for the purpose of business networking. We're all there, no matter what our goals are, to increase our visibility and be seen and known for certain things.
Hmm.
And when other people can speak to those things in real time after whatever their experience was, other people are going to jump on that. It's gold. It's
Hmm.
pure gold.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that because I don't want people to think that we're advertising LinkedIn because honestly, I love LinkedIn. That's not the point. The point is that there are other companies out there doing the same damn thing. But I think, look at it this way: Yelp is one of the brandings that people they go to, right, for restaurants and the customer service feel or whatever it is, the food and all that, right? I think LinkedIn is another brand that people they resonate to or believe in. Is that the right word? I think.
Yeah, it's a platform that builds trust.
Exactly. That's the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for. So I think that's what it is. I think the more and more I connect with you, you're going to go and see that if I'm worthy or not to collaborate with you for other businesses or even business collaborating each other or whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
thank you again for explaining that. And Michelle, but before you leave today, do you have any last words to all my Back to Basic listeners and my viewers? And how is your journey on Back to Basics too on top of that?
Which one do you want me to approach first? I'll start. I'll go in the order that you asked that. Um, if I can leave any advice for somebody on LinkedIn who wants to get back to basics, whether you haven't been on the platform for years and you're just getting back to it, or you've been dabbling in it for a while and you're just not seeing as much progress or growth toward your LinkedIn goals as you want. My advice to you to get back to basics is to stop looking at what everybody else is doing. Yes, it's important to be aware of what people are doing around you and to see what's working for others and to test the waters. But start with one little thing at a time and build from there. You don't have to change your entire profile overnight. LinkedIn is a long game. You can start with one thing and then gradually add in other things and iterate and make changes. It's not a set it and forget it platform. You can always go back and update and improve. So just start with one thing. Start small, start 5 minutes a day, whatever works for you, but find that rhythm for yourself.
Hmm.
To your second question about my experience on Back to Basics, I mean it's been amazing. We've laughed, we've gotten serious. We've uncovered and stripped down some of the things I think that a lot of people take for granted or overlook when it comes to LinkedIn and with burnout for that matter. And I think we've really shed some light on how we can uncomplicate both of those things. So yeah, it's been a great experience. Thank you for having me today.
No, thank you so much. I mean, I really enjoyed being in the company with you and collaborating with you and understanding about the LinkedIn, which my profile picture was no good, or I should say, I tweak it up a little. But honestly, we should learn from each other that what mistakes or what tweaks I can make, and I think it's an ongoing process. Just like what you said, it take a few minutes here and there and tweak it up a little, and people will be kind of impressed or kind of giving you a feedback, which is your testimonials. But thank you again for coming here and sharing those nuggets. And and I think you and I are going to be friends even offline. But thank you again for being here and supporting me on my small podcast that I have here.
It's not small. It's not small. You're doing big things and everybody is seeing it and more people need to know about it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again for coming on the show. So, guys, today we spoke with Shelly, or I should say Michelle, or whatever the name you want to use. But honestly, it's going to be Michelle, it's going to be Shelly, and that's what we're going to be using today on the show. There's one thing that I did learn about LinkedIn is that it's a very, very strong, powerful social media. When people they say social media, the first thing comes in your mind, and I'm telling you, it's not a bad thing. People they think of TikTok, they think of Facebook, they think of Instagrams and YouTubes. But honestly, there is one social media which is only dedicated to networking and networking and networking. Collaboration is one thing when it comes to business, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to technology. LinkedIn is the way to do it. Show your talents and your soft skills, your hard skills right on LinkedIn, because I'm doing it. And hopefully you all are going to be following Shelly, and her profile is there on the bottom. So hopefully you can follow her. And then obviously my profile is there. So please do follow both of us, because I think we need connections like you, whoever's listening here. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote of today from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest will like the quote. The quote is, just display your resume online, which LinkedIn lets you do, isn't enough. Now, people they think that LinkedIn is all about resumes and connecting with companies and getting a job. Yes, that's true. but there's beyond that too. Just the examples that we all gave today. So as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, we got 2 more episodes left till season 3 is over. Thank you again for supporting me, loving me, and give me all the reviews, or I should say testimonials. Thank you again, guys. I will see you next week on Back to Basics. How was that?
That was phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
You did it.
We did it. We did it.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna say LinkedIn rules.
How cheesy can we get?
Yeah. How cheesy can we get? Hi guys, thank you again for tuning in to Back to Basics and listening to the excellent episode that we had today with our guest. You know, with your love and support, we do need you to at least rate our show, review our show, because it does make us stronger day by day, week by week, as I usually say on my episodes. And there are 3 things in this episode that it makes a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and see you next time on Back to Basics.